Welcome to the Cool Fireman Podcast, a virtual firehouse kitchen table with What's a Rolfie, Unky, Fireman 1231, JDB Cubed, and Fireman Freddy. Let's get to the show.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is episode 11 of the Cool Fireman Podcast. JDB Cube is going to be your host today. Just got me and Matt and Freddie. A little pressed for time for everybody this week. Schedules are crazy. I'm actually on day work this week going to a class. But hey, if you guys haven't already, go like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast. We appreciate it. It helps drive stuff and gets us in rotation with your favorite platforms. And Matt, if you want to touch real quick, we just got added to Amazon.
Amazon Music. I think they're trying to branch off into some podcast world because they know just as well as everybody else that podcasts are starting to take off. And it's funny that you say starting to take off. I mean, it's a very small percentage of people that actually listen to podcasts, even still over radio. But it's coming, and Anchor just changed their name to Spotify for podcasters instead of Anchor now. Wow. Yeah, and so it's the whole world is kind of changing.
I think everybody's
now you can find us on Amazon and Audible.
Oh, Audible too. Yeah.
I think everybody's fed it with radio. I know country fans are because country radio is trash. Anyway, that's not what we're here to debate today. Maybe next week. Today, we are going to circle back to what Captain buddy of mine at my department, Captain Jason Ware, recommended. He had a topic of, hey, look, what do you experience in the fire service that you didn't expect? We're obviously getting younger across the country. I actually had a guy detailed to my station that he was 19 years old. He started our recruit school 2 weeks after he got out of high school. 2 weeks after graduation, he went straight to our recruit school. Blows my mind. But some of those younger people and even some older people may be inexperienced or naive to the world of poverty, drug overdoses, what a cardiac arrest looks like, accidents that have broken bones and things like that. So we want to kind of touch on some of the things that you saw that you didn't expect. You were like, oh, and it kind of took you back for a second. Freddie, you got anything that sticks out immediately to you?
Yeah. So,
sorry.
No, you're good.
I'm on TikTok. I'm recording TikTok live while we're recording the podcast. So we're kind of getting a 2-for-1 here.
One of my first jobs, this wasn't really with a fire department, but it was as a paramedic. I used to work down in a rural, I hate that word. It's so hard to say.
Rural.
In a rural area of Michigan, where there was a lot of Amish. And unfortunately, maybe they're listening, I'm not sure. The Amish, when you they're not listening. When you run Amish calls, they tend to be really bad because either they don't call at all, and then they call too late, or like it's just a really bad call. So some of the worst car accidents that I've been to have actually been car versus horse and buggy. And the reason that those end up turning out bad is when two cars crash into each other, what are they? They're typically stopped, right? When a car hits a horse and buggy, what do you think that horse is going to do? It's going to panic and it's going to run, and it drags the buggy. There's times that we come up on an accident that we were told is at this intersection. You get here and there's a car, and then about 500 yards down the way, there's a buggy on its side. And then if you look out in the field, there's a horse just hightailing it away because obviously the horse was spooked. There's something to be said about the fact that 10% of your city's population is going to use 80% of the EMS services. You hear the word frequent flyers or people we see all the time, and it's a very true story. You end up becoming very familiar, if you will, with certain people in your town because you're always running on them, whether it's because of a medical condition or whether it's because they are just somebody who needs help all the time.
What are you laughing at, Matt?
Dude, just so many things are going through my brain right now.
Yeah.
Like the guys that work in my neck of the woods, like they're listening to you talk about horse and buggy and Amish people getting in accidents. Like that's, I mean, you say it with a straight face, but I'm just like, I mean, and I'm not here to like degrade anybody. Like I'm not at all. I'm just not used to it. Right. It's just
Right. You've
something
probably
that I'm
never
just
seen
like,
it.
absolutely never seen. I mean, my wife is from Ohio, and so I've driven through parts of Ohio and seen Amish country. I've seen the horse and buggy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like, that naive to the world, but just to think, I mean, one thing that came to my mind, and this is a real question. I mean, please don't take this as like, but like, do those buggies have any type of safety restraint systems? Like, do they have any seat belts or anything?
No.
No.
They have an orange slow moving vehicle sign on the back of them, the orange triangle. That's it.
Is that by law?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
And
it.
Just
That's
like
only if the elders of that community decide to abide by those laws.
yeah, it's the same as tractors and dune buggies and street legal dune buggies and street legal golf carts. Street legal, you got to have lights on golf carts, but yeah, you got to tractors where I'm from. You got to have your orange signs if they're going to be on the highway or the road, not the highway.
For some reason, you said you don't like the word rural, but I love the word elder. I think that I just
Elder.
like Pliny the Elder. It's a good beer. I don't know if you guys have ever had that.
No.
Just the word elder comes to my brain and it just like makes me smile. And you're talking about how we run calls, and this is very common. Like when you talk about same circus, different clowns, I mean, every fire department, I guarantee it. I don't know if there's probably one person that's listening to this podcast that is like that can't relate to the frequent flyer. Or I used to work on an ambulance when I worked for the county, and I worked with this guy. We'd get a call, we'd hear the address, and he would yell, "Same names." And this guy was just like off his rocker, like he just hated it. And I would just
95% of the people that listen to this podcast know what a frequent flyer is. And we are not talking about air travel.
How many times in the middle of the night you hear an address go out and you just hear somebody, either it's you or somebody in your dorm room, "Damn it, Linda," or whatever that patient's name is, and it's bad. It's bad for some of the listeners who maybe aren't in the service, because it's like, oh, why are you mad at somebody who's having an emergency? But for us that are in it, it's like, because we've been to Linda's house 7 times this week or 4 times today.
I'm sorry. I can neither confirm nor deny, but I may have heard in the middle of the night, "I hope that fucking place burns to the ground."
Right? That's horrible. That is so bad. That is so bad. Dude, we have a Linda, and every time we go to Linda, it's not a Linda. I'm not going to say any names just for HIPAA. But anyways, we have a guy that is always on the ground. He's always hammered. And he's an older gentleman. He's German, and he speaks German much better than he does English. And so one time I put my freaking foot in my mouth, and I'm trying to help him out. I'm trying to be, like joyful, Rolfie, like, "Hey, what's going on? So-and-so, let's get you off the ground, And I'm like, "Boy, you're schwitzing." And he looks at me and he goes, "What did you say to me?" And I was like, doesn't schwitzend in German mean drunk? And he's like, "Get me off the ground."
No.
He wanted to get in the.
That was too much.
He wanted to get into the Krankenwagen.
That's the Sommerbad. That's the only thing my drill sergeant told me at boot camp. Y'all are all going to Germany. Wer ist the Sommerbad? I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Where's the pool or something like that? I don't know.
My God.
This topic is off the rails.
We have gone far off the rails. I want to reel it back in.
Where are we right now?
I want to tell the people this. You typically, when you get invited to people's houses or whatever, like regardless of whether you get invited or not, you have the same friend group. You have the same, your family and that kind of thing. And you go into people's houses and they look like normal houses, whether it be a rancher or 2-story, whatever. You got bedrooms and living rooms and whatever, and they got furniture and stuff. Well, Jason talked about the poverty thing. A lot of people may be completely oblivious to that stuff and don't know what these people living in cheap apartments, extended stay hotels where they basically live in the hotel, week to week or month to month or whatever. Excuse me. But you don't see these people where you might go in a 1,600 square foot house and there's a chair, a TV, maybe a couch. The mattress is on the floor. Like these people don't see that. And you're like, what in the hell? What did I just walk into? Is this Fallujah? You just don't get it. And then you go back in the back and, Johnny Pot Smoker's back there skied up and passed out, and Smokey McPot's beside him. He's all passed out. Narcan.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean,
I've gone Ebonic. I'm sorry.
We're going to end up running on somebody on their worst day. And a lot of times that worst day that they're having is just an accumulation of something that may have been happening in their life. They may be down, down on their luck or what have you, and between jobs, or maybe they are an alcoholic or addicted to drugs, and you're going to see them at their worst. And it takes a special person to be able to go into that situation, cast that aside, and still be able to treat that person as if they were, somebody who is a multimillionaire. Because frankly, it doesn't matter what house we go into. We have to treat everybody equally. We have to, and when I say treat, I'm not saying like, oh, hello, sir. Hello, ma'am. I mean, we're going to take your vital signs. We're going to give you the medicines you need. We're going to transport you to the hospital. I get asked very often, not so much at my current place, but at my previous, like, how much is this going to cost? How much is this ambulance going to cost? I can't afford this. I ain't got insurance, da, da, da. And my standard answer to that was, listen, let's get you to the hospital, figure out what it costs later. And I know that that's not an easy thing for everyone to take, but it's hard when somebody's trying to determine whether or not their life is worth a trip in an ambulance because they know they're going to get a $700 bill.
Yeah. If they don't have insurance, it's, whatever, but it's, yeah. But you touched on it, Freddie. Regardless of whether it's what just popped up on my screen, go away. Regardless of whether it's a drug overdose in an extended stay motel, whether it's I got trouble breathing, I got difficulty living, whatever the case may be, I fell down, my ankle hurts, I got knee pain in a $1 million house. It doesn't matter. You treat every patient as if they were your grandma. That's what's been taught to me since day one, and that's what I still do. Especially old people. I treat them like my grandma. Mm-hmm. But I care for all my patients, or not even patients, on fire calls, people you encounter, like you treat your mother or your grandmother. You give them that same respect, because we're seeing them on what could be the worst day of their life. And what Jason was talking about was sheltered people who don't understand the people who, like you said, Freddie, who, hey man, I can't afford this ride. I don't have insurance. I can't afford this hospital ride. Does this IV cost me any money? Whatever. Excuse me. Or the guy who's, it's been in a domestic with his girlfriend, and one of them doesn't have a place to go. Like the people the shelter people he's talking about have never encountered anything like that before in their life, and they don't know how to deal with that. Sorry, I'm bouncing back to the TikTok live. If y'all keep seeing me looking over, I got this kids asking questions about, he's waiting to get in a recruit class. So good for him. I'm going to answer some of those questions in just a minute, Dylan. Hold on. But one thing that a misconception about us, we've talked about the food thing and paying for our own meals, but, oh, you guys get to sleep all night. Let me tell you this right now. Here's a misconception for you sheltered people. We don't get to sleep all night. If we're lucky, we get to sleep 5, maybe 6 hours straight. But what I suggest you do is go to bed at 10 o'clock at night, go to sleep, and at 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, set your alarm. 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, get up, get dressed. I'm talking get up, get dressed, and be out of the house and in your vehicle within 2 minutes. Drive 6 miles to the county store, hang out for 20 minutes, turn around and come back and get into bed.
I got a better one for you.
Sleep for 2 hours, get up and do it again. And then tell me how much you sleep at work.
How about this? Go to bed at 10 o'clock at night, but I want you to know, at some point during the middle of the night, I'm going to come in there and I'm going to slap you in the face and pour water on your head. You have no clue when, but I'm going to. All right. That is, in my opinion, what it is like sleeping at a firehouse.
I don't know what kind of crap happens at your firehouses, but I get slapped.
He's thinking about the just always being on edge and my God, the bell's going to ring any minute.
I just give him Freddy shit.
It's a metaphor. Yeah, it's a metaphor for we're expecting the tones to go off. So if you go to bed knowing I'm going to come in there and smack you in the face, you're probably not going to sleep very soundly. No. And there are a lot of significant others out there, mine included, that are very accommodating, I guess you could say, to that, where on the way home, how was your night last night? Oh, we had one. Or, we were able to sleep all night, and we'll get home. And a lot of times my wife will say, hey, if there's any way you can just, get these couple loads of laundry done today, if you can get that done, go ahead and take a nap or something like that. My wife is really good about that. And so I appreciate that. But there are days that I come home and I feel like a zombie, and I feel bad about it because I need to be able to come home and I need to go into dad mode or house fixer mode or carpenter mode or what have you.
Yeah.
Academy teacher mode. Today, I worked a 72 over the weekend. I had a 8-hour class on Monday, went back to work on Tuesday. I've been at the academy Wednesday. Today I was at the Wednesday. Today I was at the academy. I'm at the academy tomorrow, and I work a back half tomorrow night. Like, you got to keep going.
You guys ever heard of the term the alligator death roll?
Yep.
Yeah. That's what I do when we get back from a call. Doesn't matter what kind of call. It doesn't matter. I mean, if I wake up at 2 a.m. for a call and that we get canceled right away, I might be okay. But if we leave the house and we come back, oh man, it's like an hour.
Toss turn.
It's the freaking roll.
Miserable.
Yeah. Miserable.
It's funny. I had a lieutenant, and I hope he listens to it. But if he listens to it, he'll know exactly who he is. If a call came in after 11:30 at night, he was up the rest of the night. He quite literally could not fall back asleep. It was just something in his brain. He would lay there and he might drift in and out of like unconsciousness in his bed. But, you'd get up in the morning, you'd be like, oh man, you're feeling it, huh?
That's brutal.
Feeling it.
That's brutal. Dude, how many, so I don't know about you guys, but do you guys talk about work with your friends? So one thing that I was not expecting obviously it's been 15 years or 20 years or so, but I wasn't expecting actually, the amount of crap that we do see, to be honest with you. I don't know if I maybe have heard, before I got into EMT school and all this stuff, you can see, you can see blood, you can be thrown up on, that doesn't bother me, and it doesn't, it's weird. And so I think that, the firemen and the guys, the paramedics are listening to this right now. I mean, it takes, to be honest, like for me, I think that it honestly takes a certain type of personality, a certain type of person to be able to see that kind of stuff and then sweep it under the rug and or laugh about it at the end of the day. But I'll be sitting around the campfire or whatever. I have this one friend, and every time I see him, and I don't see him that often, he says, "Hey, what kind of crazy calls have you been on?" And I'll start rattling off these calls, and to the point where he's just like, whoa, 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 whoa. And there'll be other people that didn't ask that question within earshot. And they're like, what are you talking about? They're like, that is not normal. And I'm not going to like get into this on what kind of calls I've seen. Everybody that's watching this, and maybe people that aren't firefighters and they just are watching this podcast anyway, would want to hear that. I don't know how much you guys are going to get into that, but I don't talk about the calls I run with my wife. If I need to get something off my chest, I'm pretty good at wearing my heart on my sleeve, and I have to. And that's just my personality, because if I don't, I'll go crazy. So there's a couple little things that I'll abbreviate when I get home, and in regards to the types of calls that we're running, or if we get up 15 times after midnight. I'm exaggerating, but there's a minimal amount of things that I talk about work, outside of work.
There's nothing that anybody in the fire or EMS service, or even police for that matter, first responders in general, hate more. Maybe I'm speaking for myself. Than, hey man, what's the worst thing you've ever seen? I don't want to talk.
Bring that up.
I don't want to talk about that, dog. And you don't want to know. All right. So sometimes your naivety is best kept in that realm.
100%.
The other thing too is please understand, and obviously we probably have a lot of first responders that listen. And I know we have a lot of people who aren't first responders. You got to understand, one of our coping mechanisms within the fire service is like shoving it off, or like quick change of topic, or
humor.
Joking around. Like, listen, we're not being insensitive. We are not being rude. We're not trying to make light of the situation. What we're doing is we are trying to ourselves deal with the trauma, with the absolute severity or weight that gets put on you by running these types of calls multiple times over multiple years of your career. So yeah, I've done it, and there's people who've looked at you sideways, but you do CPR for 25 minutes on somebody, and you can't save them, and you call for a time of death and what have you, and you're picking up all your stuff, and hey, I am really sorry about your loss, ma'am. The police will take it from here, and what have you. I walk out, I look at my partner, and I'm like, hey man, what do you think? Sloppy Joe's for dinner? Like, or, you're telling a joke, not about the patient, but you're telling a joke, you see, what have you. It's the easiest way for us to try and move past that trauma and not let it be sticky in our brain. It helps us to, we're going to call back to an earlier episode, it helps us to ditch the bricks, being able to be funny or what have you. It's that dark humor that EMS has. It helps us. It's very therapeutic.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think multiple studies have been done about, the more you dwell on things, the worse they get. But in our line of work, that's the way we get out of it. The last thing I want to touch on is, people who call us for, hey man, my smoke detector is beeping. What do I need to do? I tell people that we run those calls, and we run people to say, hey, I got a toothache, or I got a headache, or hey, I fell down last week. How's this bruise look to you? Like, we run those things, and the general public is like, you do what? I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, when we say we run a bunch of BS, we run a bunch of BS, because a lot of people that I've talked to in my friends and family are like, wait, you mean that person didn't know how to put a battery in their smoke detector?
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. So, I mean, it's the whole gamut of, from highly intellectual. And I've been to doctors' houses that couldn't, hey, how do I turn my water off? I got a water leak. You don't know how to turn the water off to your house? Yeah. Come on, man. There's a valve right there. Just look. So you take on the role of educator also,
Yeah.
So I take every chance I can, again, to educate and to try to avoid going on that call in the future, whether it be to that person again, or whether if they tell one of their friends, or hey, the fireman came over here and they showed me how to turn my water off. Oh yeah, how you turn your water off? Well, now I've told two people. That whole thing, Yeah. So, Jason, I hope we covered that well enough for you. Freddie screwed up, and we got a damn free Zoom, so we're getting run out of time. I don't think he logged in right, but anyway, I don't want to put him down too bad.
I'm cheap. I didn't pay for it.
Well, yeah, Unky normally does that part. Unky's got all the money in this group. So, hold on. Freddie just texted me. What did Freddie say?
He said, wrap it up.
Whatever. Clown. I got the place. All right. TikTok Live has gone well. Answer some questions there.
Right here. Do you not see me?
I see you. Does he see me? You see me?
Yes, I see you. Sitting here.
All right,
like
what's your recipe?
Barneys.
Hey, my wife and daughter are out of town. They're not far. They're in Anaheim. They're not far from Matt right now. So I told them if they need something to call me, and I'm going to call you to go help them out. They're going from Anaheim to Arizona. So what am I doing while they're gone? Frozen pizza, fried chicken.
Hey, I'm going to Arizona tomorrow.
Are you really? Where you going?
Spring training for the boys' baseball tournament.
Who you going to?
Um,
Phoenix?
Glendale,
Okay.
like Peoria area.
Yeah. Her grandparents and grandparents winter in Mesa, Arizona, just southeast of Phoenix.
It's right there.
So yeah. So Verlie's got some work stuff there next week. So they just kind of made it a whole family trip. She's out there at Disney right now with her friend who's out there for something, but I'm stuck here. So I'm eating like a bachelor. So what I'm gonna tell you to do is sometimes it's okay to say, you know what, we're gonna punt. We're gonna heat up a frozen pizza. We're going to put the air fryer, get some chicken tenders, some French fries. Air fryers have changed the world of cooking. No more soggy baked French fries, because ain't nothing worse than a chewy French fry for me. I want a crunchy French fry. I don't want to taste the potato. I want it to crunch. And if you cook frozen pizza on a pan, I got an issue with that, because that damn dough tastes like a piece of wet bread. I don't know what's wrong with you, but you need Jesus. All right? There's my recipe for the week. Matt,
your recipe is to punt.
My recipe is to punt. It's okay to punt. It's okay to say, hey, man, it's 4th and 2, and we're in our own territory at the 16. We can't do this. We got to kick it. And that's all right. All right?
Yeah.
Matt, give me a tip and take us home.
Rookie tip for the day, for the week, is going to lead into our next week's topic. Know your apparati.
Hell yeah.
We have talked about knowing your first in and how important that is to know your area, building construction, your first in, whatever. Know your apparatus, man. I'd say, so it used to be 3 months. Now every 4 months we do a test for our probies. And so at the 4-month test, they do a huge inventory test. It's basically
write it down.
One of the chiefs comes up and he's like, that one. And he just points at a, compartment. And he goes, what's in it? How many? What is it made of? How do you work it? And it's like a full blown thing. Or we'll just go over the entire rig.
There's nothing that looks worse than the ring around the rosy on a fire scene.
Oh, dude.
Where you got guys walking around and opening every compartment looking for a hammer.
Yeah.
I'm excited to learn what kind of hose loads you guys have and what your hose beds are laid out like and whatnot. I'm interested to talk about that. So that's good stuff.
Yep. That's all part of it. Know how to load your hose, make your hose beds look pretty. We have covers on ours. I'm not a huge fan of them. I think that you should run them with them off to show if your work. Don't be lazy. Know your apparatus. And 2 a.m, you need to know where the paper clips are. Then you should be going right to them. So,
indeed.
That's my rookie tip for the day. But yep, we got less than a minute, and it is shift change. So hey, it was just the 3 of us today. Let's try to get Nick and Unky on next time. Sorry you missed them, but this was the ultimate throwing this together to make it happen for this week. We want to post every Friday, and that's our goal. So
hashtag where's Nick?
Hashtag where's Nick?
That's our hat. We've lost Nick.
We've lost Nick.
He gone.
Like and subscribe. We love y'all.
Yeah.
See ya.
See ya.